hockey fans. I've seen them throw flamingos. I've seen them throw waffles. I've seen them throw fish, octopi, multiple octopi. Dang it. Hello, friend. Steve Dangle here, and welcome to the best day of the week. It's Thursday, which means it's time for another edition of Steve's Dang It's, presented by Advil. I'm going to be making hat picks and Dang It's videos until the end of the Stanley Cup Final, and it sounds like that might be soon. And we're going to end with a bang with the Dangies. What are the Dangies? I should explain the Dangies. Well, it's the best of the worst. The best Dang-Its of the year as voted on by you. Do I get to pick? No, I don't get to pick. You get to pick. The people. So look out for that on your socials. Not your social security. Put that away. For our first several Dang-Its, and we haven't really been able to say this for the entirety of the playoffs, but Matthew Tkachuk. Here he is throwing a thunderous hit, the one that we've all been talking about.
With the stop up, knocks the puck down, makes sure he gets a piece to get it out. He misses the hit, but then...
No, not that one, Nick. You scamp. You silly scamp. He's a scamp. A sign of how things would go through the first two games of the series, Matthew Tkachuk goes to throw a big hit and ends up in his own bench. Now, I am not in charge of changing the rules in hockey, but if I could change one, it would be that if you fall into the other team's bench, you have to play for them for the rest of the game. But he went into his own bench, so it's fine. It's still, that's a dang it. Probably the bigger and more consequential dang it is Matthew Tkachuk got kicked out of each of the first two games. The first one was this bit of ridiculousness at the end of game one.
Company behind the Florida net.
Well, now if you're Florida, you're more apt to take a few shots and liberties, and down by two. You got to be careful here. If you're Vegas, don't give them an opportunity to get a power play out of this. It's, you know, one of those things, take a hit to make a play and just
Stevenson and Bennett not done.
And honestly, you never know what the officials are going to pull out of this pile. There's Tkachuk's got another left hook. He's going to be gone on that one. So there goes any sense that maybe Florida can get something out of it.
And he and Eichel might end up getting more involved than already the case.
Ah, yes, the epitome of manliness in the NHL. Toughness and ruggedness. Matthew Tkachuk punches an opponent who is being restrained by Mark Stahl. Now, Aiden Hill did that to one of Tkachuk's teammates earlier in the game, so perhaps he was just returning the favor, except if you've ever watched a Matthew Tkachuk game before, you know he would have done it anyway. I've always said the scariest thing about Matthew Tkachuk, it's not his skill, playmaking ability, hands, goal scoring, hitting, fighting, none of that. It's the after the whistle stuff when he punches you directly in the head and throat while chewing his mouthguard and completely expressionless. Something about beating the crap out of someone when you're not even mad makes me think you're a dangerous person. And it's weird interviewing NHL players at your job because, like, I spoke to Matthew Tkachuk in Vegas, ironically, earlier this year. Like, we played Pucktionary together. He drew pictures and we laughed. But he gets on the ice and that's a different dude. That's a dang it. And in game two, this one that will start, this is much more of a dang it on Jack Eichel for not keeping his head up.
What a redirect stop by Aiden Hill, and a huge hit there. Tkachuk catching Eichel, and everything's happening now.
Did a nice job of getting away. Now he took a last-second peek and saw that Tkachuk was there. Watch his last second, just realizes, and that's right on the right shoulder, shoulder to shoulder as Tkachuk knocked his helmet right off. Watch the right shoulder of Eichel as he tries to turn. He takes that whole brunt on the top of his shoulder blade, and his reaction.
Dude, that is one of the biggest hits of the year. Top five, for sure. Top five. Top five biggest non-Jacob Trouba hits this season. Eichel returned to the game, but if that happened to me, I would need an Advil, to say the least. Unreal that Jack Eichel not only got up from that, but had an assist early in the third. His helmet pops off, you immediately think head. I was like, oh my god, that neck. But I tell you what, that's clean. That's shoulder on shoulder, and out of the three 3 misconducts that Tkachuk got, this one made the least sense. In game 1, you get the misconduct with 4.5 minutes to go in a game where you're only down 2. That's still a winnable game. Your odds aren't high, but it's winnable. That's just irresponsible on Tkachuk's part. But after this, he gets kicked out for what? Getting mauled after a clean hit? That doesn't make sense. And then what ends up getting him kicked out, ultimately, of game 3 was, well, not firing a rat, although he did do that. It was actually this, hitting Amadio's stick out of his hand.
Well, in between Matthew Tkachuk's goal and ejection, a row was thrown on the ice by one of the Panthers fans here in the building, and Matthew Tkachuk perhaps sending a message to the Vegas bench of what awaits them down in South Florida for games 3 and 4. And there's the hack of the stick of Michael Amadio, and Chris Rooney said he had about had enough. So for the second consecutive game, an early exit for Matthew Tkachuk.
Oh yeah, that's 10 minutes. Think of all the stuff you've seen in these playoffs that wasn't even 2, and that's 10. No matter how you slice it, that's a dang it. Getting back to thunderous hits, what did you think of this hit from Ivan Barbashev on Radko Gudas?
Pivoted back onto the puck. This is open ice. And now a penalty upon Barbashev. There's a big hit there as he ran over Gudas, and Gudas looks like he's wobbly after that.
Blomberg here, he's dead tired at the end of his shift, and just that little cross check right to the ear hole. But here's the hard hit. Barbashev.
Now, first of all, if you weren't actually focused on the words you were reading, you'd be like, oh yeah, Gudas headshot someone again. And you watch the clip and you're like, what? Again, Tkachuk, 10 minutes. This, 2. I'm not 100% sure where I stand on this because it's a puck battle. Barbashev is trying to protect himself. Gudas isn't doing anything wrong though, and he gets beamed right in the head. Sometimes there's going to be unavoidable head contact. There's going to be accidents and stuff like that, but like Tkachuk avoided it with Eichel. Difficult to say if that hit violates today's rules, but I think that will not be in this league for much longer. At the end of the day, why would you fight to keep that in the game? Clean hits to the shoulder, the chest, you keep that in the game all day long. It's a contact sport. When the principal point of contact is the head, why would you fight for that? That's a dang it. For our next dang it, Aiden Hill and Matthew Tkachuk get acquainted.
Rebounds in front. Good balance trying to establish the area. Tkachuk can't draw a penalty. Can't get one after Hill. They both got a couple of shots in, and then after the kill.
Not a penalty was called. Tkachuk skating into Hill, nothing. McNabb cross-checking him right into the net, nothing. Hill slashing Tkachuk, nothing. Tkachuk going right at Hill, nothing. All of it was fine. It's a wash. But it's okay. It happened behind the play, and there was no one wearing black and white there. Oh, yes, there was. They were right there. This series isn't over, and there's going to be plenty more opportunities for these guys to get acquainted. Oh, boy. That's dang it. For our next dang it, turns out Sergei Bobrovsky is human after all.
Forehand, backhand, and in the back of the net. And I think right now that's the end of Bobrovsky. Credit Bobrovsky. What a gesture there going to Alex Lyon. Smart play. Yeah, I mean, the ice has just been tilted here in this second period. The energy that the Vegas Golden Knights have brought to this period again. And now Lyon will come in and try to settle things down a little bit. Bobrovsky, you know it's a long series. Stevenson drives the middle. That opens up the lane. And just as a left-handed shot.
That was weird. It was weird seeing Bobrovsky get scored on. It was weird seeing him get scored on 4 times. It was weird seeing him sat on the bench. All of it was weird because for 2 months, this dude's been basically unbeatable. And again, I'll say it till I'm blue in the face. This series isn't over, but that's a dang it. Hey, here's a dang it. You want to see how many misconducts there were at the end of game 2? Matthew Tkachuk, misconduct. Casey Fitzgerald, misconduct. Keegan Colasar, misconduct. Anthony Duclair, cross-checking against Ivan Barbashev, served by Carter Verhaeghe. Oh, because Anthony Duclair, misconduct. Eric Stahl, abuse of officials. Nick Cousins, misconduct. Zach Whitecloud, misconduct. Riley Smith, cross-checking against Brandon Montour, served by Jonathan Marchessault. Riley Smith, misconduct. Sam Reinhart, misconduct. Brett Howden, misconduct. With the exception of the Matthew Tkachuk misconduct, each and every one of those misconducts happened within the last 5 minutes of that game, and a few of them were in the last 2 minutes. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 misconducts in the last 2 minutes, and 1, 2, 3 in the last 8 seconds. Do those things matter? No! You get kicked out of a game that's over. No one cares. It doesn't carry over to the next game. It's not a punishment. They literally just ask you to sit. What are 10-minute misconducts at the end of games other than like padding stats for fantasy hockey? Also, Eric Staal got kicked out for abuse of official. Have you heard any update on that whatsoever? He abused an official bad enough to get kicked out of a game with 3.5 minutes left and just, it's nothing? Nothing? Man, veterans really can get away with anything. What? That's a dang it. Oh, and then they threw a flamingo on the ice. Where did you even get that? What is with hockey fans? I've seen them throw flamingos. I've seen them throw waffles. I've seen them throw fish, octopi, multiple octopi. Was it the rubber rats? Were they like, we need to compete with the rubber rats? Where'd you get a flamingo? I'm not a zoologist. I'm just a guy who worked there for 7 years. I don't think they have flamingos in Nevada. Hockey, you're preposterous. That's a dang it. So that is it for this edition of Steve's Dang It's presented by Advil. Thank you very much for watching. Click like if you like this video. Click subscribe if you really liked it. Tell your friends. What? I've been kicked out. It's almost over. It doesn't even matter if I get kicked out. For what? For what?